Okay, so here's the second part with the DC circuit, and this is part 2, and this is pretty simple. Well, it's pretty simple except it has one catch. Here's where our ground point is, and that'll become kind of apparent. But what we've got is 20 volts, and we go through this series, and then we've got these resistors in a parallel thing. And so what we do is we just take these, sum them together, take those, sum them together, and that makes 8K in parallel with 8K. So what we turns out is we reduce it over here, and then we reduce it further, and then it's 20 volts times divided by 10K, so it's 2 mils running through the circuit. Pretty simple. Now all we're trying to do is find out the voltage at point A relative to this point here, ground. And that's where the little catch comes in. And if we look at the second half of the circuit, so we want to find that voltage. And again, the only trick is that here's where we have 0 volts. So we know that it's 2 mils going through there. So, and here in parenthesis, this is the voltage across each resistor. So we got 4, 8, 6, and 2. That's 20 volts. That adds up. And so if we got 2 mils across there, that's going to make that 6 volts. And it's 6 volts here, so that's 0. That's got to be 6. Now the only thing that's tricky is we think that over here that the battery or power supply is going to be referenced to 0. And that is not so. It can be referenced to anything we want. And so if we measure from this positive point down to here, we're going to measure 18 volts. If we measure from this point to ground, we're going to measure -2, or the 2-drop volt across that resistor. And now let's look at the MultiSim and see what we have. Okay, so here's the circuit, same circuit. And again, hopefully you've taken a look at using the circuits to, or the basics of the circuits to connect them up. But here's our 20 volts, here's the ground. And if we run the circuit, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this. This is our voltage at that point A. That's 6 volts with round off. If we look at this is just going to measure the current. And that is 2 mils. Now if we look at this point right here, what we're looking at is we're looking at the positive thing. And what we get there is 18. And so if we look at the bottom half over here, that is our -2 volts. And there you have it for the second installation of the DC circuits.